Three, two, one, go. All right, sweet, awesome. Hi, creative wonders and wonderful creators. I'm so happy to be here. Wonderful. I'm finally off work today. I finally get to be home and draw a little bit. I'm working on a new painting. Actually, I can probably show it to you here. All right. So I wanted to touch on a couple of things. Power of awareness. And I've heard a phrase recently that goes that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be present. Makes perfect sense. How easy is it is to do? It requires work. I don't know if it's a lot of work or hard work. It's work. For example, I'm just studying myself. Analyzing myself is really where I catch myself, being a hypocrite, or if I actually being good at doing something or delivering something, or if I'm saying what I'm saying doesn't match what I said before. So I get to study where is my being. And few things I'm also noticing whenever I feel like judging someone for judging others, I'm realizing that I'm still judging them. And what I think is good about having that around is that the power of awareness helps us to reflect onto what we actually are. I strongly find myself in tune with the idea that the external environment, the universe, is the mirror reflection of who we are on the inside. And when we are encountered by someone who triggers us, or we are triggered, by them, then the triggering identifies that there is something within ourselves that we're having a hard time to accept, meaning we may be possibly so strongly opinionated in the idea that we're not allowing other person's perspective or idea to actually be in tune with who we are. Listening to Carlos Castaneda book, The Power of Silence, I believe. I gotta remember the name of this book. He talks about that perception. Don Juan talks about the perception comes from awareness. So awareness is the core of everything. And yet, we're so used to having correct opinion or have good moral standards that we bypass being present. I sometimes find myself, whether I'm at work with customers, whether I'm with my loved ones, family, friends, anybody, even with myself sometimes, even when I'm watching or listening something on YouTube or listening an audiobook, and I stumble upon character or personality or characteristics that don't necessarily match my idea of what, ideal person should be, then I have that inner conflict when I want to argue against it and defend what I like. Because if other person doesn't like it, then we're gonna defend each other's side. And then what's curious is that there's no reason to defend either or. It's nice when you agree, but it's also nice to agree to disagree. But can we actually come to that point? So as I was listening to Carlos Castaneda's audiobook, and he talks about Don Juan telling him a story about Don Juan's two benefactors, meaning masters, who were teaching him, to whom Don Juan was an apprentice. Don Juan described one benefactor being a nice and cool, very, holy saint guy, and the other one being really theatrical, rambunctious, and not really that great of a person, but he had a great skill of changing changing himself in a way that people could perceive him as anybody else. He could be short and fat, he could be tall and handsome, he could become any type of person, and then that was his skill, basically like a shapeshifter that others perceived like. And whenever Carlos Castaneda told him like, hey, I really liked Nagual, what's his name? And then he's like, but I really hated Nagual, what's his other name? Julian. And Don Juan said, it's interesting how when you recognize you either absolutely love and adore the spirit that reflects in you, either you absolutely hated the spirit that reflects in you, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. In any case, this is also something that stuck with me because I'm noticing after myself, I would share an opinion and some person would be opposing that opinion. And I would feel necessity to defend my opinion, even though I comprehend that it doesn't matter. But I'm so willing to stand by that person and defend them. And so like they're nowhere near me, who cares really? Great example. There is a singer on YouTube. I'm not going to mention her name just yet because I do adore her. I think she's cute, but people attacking her like crazy. Anyways, talking to someone, and they're like, oh, I don't even like her song. She has so many tattoos and she's blah, blah, blah. I was like, I mean, first of all, I think she has really cute tattoos. She has like those flowers of life. She has tattoos saying blessed. Well, I probably exposed her. Anyways, if you know who I'm talking about, put it in the comments down below and let's check if we actually talk about the same person. But I think her tattoos is cute. I mean, there are people who have really gorgeous tattoos all over the body or however. I'm surprised that person is okay with me having tattoos. Anyways, that's not even about that. But I was so inside of me. I never picked up on that arguing too far, but I'm inside myself like, but she's cute, like she went through so much and there's, we all went through hardships and lifted ourselves up and she's doing good right now and she's gorgeous and she has good voice and all those things. So there's not enough defensiveness I can put towards her to convince that person that, she's actually a good individual. And then I realized that I'm judging that other person's opinion just because they have different opinion, which they allowed to have, but I'm judging that they judging her, which means I'm catching onto the same judging vibe instead of accepting that, okay, you judge the first, second, and third criteria of that circumstance, right? Or that individual or character. And you're allowed to have that. I have my different opinion about the same character. And I'm embracing her. I'm actually praising her. And I think like, good for you, person. Good for you, character. You go do your thing. I'm proud of you. But for this person who actually gives the judgments to that person, for some reason, I don't say that, oh, I'm proud of you for judging that person. I praise you judging that person. Now the question is, what is the difference? Where do we place the labels on what's morally acceptable to us and what's not morally acceptable to us, and where do we draw a limit of stopping arguing about it? Because I want to be on the same page with that person who doesn't like girl with so many tattoos. But I'm not. And I also tired of defending my opinion. I would rather let the conversation go and not have it, because in my heart, I accept her with so many tattoos. And I need to also learn to accept you having judgmental opinions about the person, because in your world, this is what your ideal picture is. And I get to learn to respect that picture too. So it wasn't easy to bring to equanimity, but it also, I feel like, has been playing into my world today, because I was working with customers all day. and a whole bunch of new customers asking a whole bunch of new questions that I know all the answers for the questions they're going to be asking. Sometimes I'm trying to play ahead. And for me to speed up the process, I cut through bullshit and I try to deliver all of it right away to, to create painless in the quickest experience possible for you to also be happy, confident, and handsome. So we good. Yet, I would stumble upon a person who would be super nice, a dandelion, mom with son, but they would want to try every single thing on, being very, very precise, being I'm not gonna be afraid of that word, being quite anal in how they need to try every single thing and every single length and make sure that works well, even though we don't have sizes. Anyways, I was judging that lady for wanting to make sure that her son looks handsome and that, they probably have great pictures for prom and everyone's happy. Because I was already so caught up in my overwhelmed self, exhausted, on my feet all day. So I'm recognizing that being present in my own environment and being present in other person's environment is also sometimes more important to build that relationship than actually having perfect tip-top deliverance process. Because sometimes, interestingly enough, it seems like we as humans don't necessarily want to have something done, maybe intuitively. Yes, we want to get things done because we have certain quests set up for ourselves. But we also want to have the communication and connection where we recognize ourselves as being present. Something I'm also recognizing that if I'm working with a customer and I'm actually feeling really good and I'm ready to connect with customers right away and let's have a conversation, let's spend time with each other, let's have talk, let's build rapport, and it's lovely. And yet, the first thing I have to do, put it in a tablet. So I'm standing there typing things in a tablet, in the computer, in the front of the screen, instead of actually communicating with the person. And then I'm judging myself and judging my work environment because I think this is goofy. We want to build facial recognition relationships. We want to build spirit entanglements. We want to have good rapport. We want to recognize each other's faces so we can remember each other's names. And yet, I'm actually, the first thing I have to do when I meet you, I do the screen. I was judging my work today for all this BS, and I guess the world today like this, that's fine. And then I was judging myself for judging others, for not knowing enough about suits. And all this judgment just keeps stemming in and comes through. And I was just so tired of judgment. And I'm coming to the point, I got home and I sat down and I got to relax. And I recognized that little quote I put in the memos in my phone that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be present. And being present, to me at least, feels being chill, being content, even if when feeling overwhelmed, be present with that feeling. Don't hide it. It's gonna be noticeable anyways. Be authentic, sincere, but also don't just be a dick, because it was hard for me to not to be a dick. I was like, I felt like I needed to go grab a snack, and I grabbed the snack and I felt angry for some reason. Once I put food in my system, I felt angry. But once I drank water would actually make me feel calmer. I felt better as I was drinking water. But then I would get hungry and I was like, shoot, now I eat something and I get angry. I was like, how is this happening? I'm not sure. Like, my body is doing this weird thing. and I have to perform well at work, and I just want to go home and paint. It was a trip. It was a trip. But the reason I'm placing this video here now is because if it reflects with you that you catching yourself trying to be perfect instead of being present, try to slow down your thinking, try to slow down your breathing, try to slow down your walk. It helped me at work. It helped me just in general. Even at home, I would sometimes wake up with a really high boost of energy and I want to just keep going. But then just because the amount of energy flowing is so enormous, I feel so scattered everywhere. I need to kind of compile myself together and contain that energy and slow it down somehow. And the breathing is the thing for it, and slower walking. If I pretend that I am practicing being a princess and holding books under my armpits and have a puddle of water on the top of my head and I'm carrying it slowly, actually slower walk helps me to slow down my pace, helps me to slow down my thinking, helps me to slow down my breathing, and also drinking more water. Drinking more water has been helping tremendously. So tell me what you think about it. Do you find yourself more trying to be more perfect? Do you find yourself actually being able to be more present with yourself, with other people? And if you are catching yourself judging others for anything that they do you find yourself judging for judging others? Because this is still judging. And if I'm judging someone else, that means I'm judging myself, because I'm not judging, even if I don't judge them out loud in their face and say like, hey, I'm judging you. That means you're judging something inside yourself, or at least I perceive it as I judge myself for judging someone. That means I'm not accepting certain parts of myself. So digging inside seems to be always the final door that I need to keep opening. It's like that door is like in the corridor of mirrors. You just keep opening and opening and opening more and more doors, and they're just never ending. So this is going to be my final thought for today. Don't be perfect, be present, and be awesome, and be wonderful. And I love you, and keep create something awesome. And I'll see you hopefully next week. All right, goodbye.